Oh, my God. That's what happens when you don't talk. Now that the kids are back at school, everybody left the house by the time you wake up. So I haven't talked to anyone. I haven't opened my mouth.
You have to go through some vocal art exercises next time.
I mean, what is that? It's kind of sexy. I don't hate it.
Well,
If this was just what it was, if this was normal, I'd be like, hey, there's something there. I could make $1 with that, right? Like if this is just what it was, right? Like if I just woke up one morning and was like, oh, hello. I could live with that. But it ain't that. This is the mucus.
well, when you put it like
Hello,
that,
good morning.
It goes
Good
very.
morning. Not quite as sexy when I say it that way.
I mean, it was
no?
borderline, hardly, maybe. Just
No,
a
it was
little,
very sexy.
Well,
It was gripping. Very sexy.
but once you.
There's always savings time at Farmer Jack's. Yeah, hi. You know me. I'm the Glenn Clark from Glenn Clark Radio. Well, I know you say to yourself, are you though? Are you that guy? Because you don't sound like it. And you're right. I don't. But I know him. He's a cousin of mine. So I figured I'd come over here and hang out for a little while and see how you all felt about me. And then, I don't know, from there, maybe we'll reconsider him. Yo, all of y'all that don't have, like, allergies, it's not a thing in your life. Ottenheimer used to sit here and be like, I don't get it. I don't understand. I'm like,
I mean, I don't know. I'm like, I want to knock on wood. Like when I was little, my allergies would be.
I swear to God, it
miserable.
wasn't until I moved home from Arizona that I moved out to Arizona. Had never really.
Your immune system was like, oh, we don't have to do anything here.
Yeah, right. I swear to God, there's no grass, there's no pollen. We're fine. It's lovely. And I moved home, and they were just. It was like, forget it. We're packing up. Enjoy your life. My wife decided she's never moving. She's like, you can do whatever you want, but if we're going to be married, we're going to be here. And, like, I respect her opinion, but at the same time, I'm like, you don't think maybe one day I could not have to suffer? Just at some point in the future, kids grow up. They clearly aren't going to want to be around us.
You don't know that, maybe.
They're going to want to live on a farm, middle of nowhere.
Yeah, you're right.
I hope that they achieve things. I hope that they go out in the world. Go like our buddy Zach from All Time Low. Go move to Hawaii. God. Hi. All right. Anyway, we'll do our best to get through it. I got a soccer match tonight, too. That's the nice part about whenever I'm going through this is that, like, I don't get a day. It's not that I don't get a day off. It's that I don't get a day where I don't have at least 2 responsibilities. If anybody has any hot tea they could bring by, I'd appreciate it. It's going to be a struggle, and I'm going to do my best not to strain, so no one piss me off today, please. And with that in mind, let's talk about the Orioles' defense. Corbin Burns. Because how could that possibly piss me off? Thursday edition of the program. Coming up, as long as I can make it through it. We're going to make our first picks of the year. We'll also continue Fantasy Week. Press Box's Joe Serpico joins us next. Oh, God. It ain't good. It ain't good.
Water? Well,
I don't know that water's going to help, dog.
what about, like, just hot water? Because I think we have the cooler, I think, has, like, a hot option.
All right, maybe.
Maybe we'll have
we
tea
don't
bags?
keep any tea bags back there. We really should look into that.
Check.
Yeah, look into that if you don't mind. Get your best men on that, if you will. Give my best effort. Yeah, Joe Serpico will join us in a little bit. We will talk about fantasy. I had the first fantasy draft of the year last night for your boy. Let him roast me. We'll also make our first picks of the year as we get ready for week 1 of college football season. Speaking of which, Armen Keteyian, longtime investigative reporter, CBS. I think he was at ESPN before there. You've known Armen Keteyian. Armen has a new book out called The Price. I think I've got it. I think I brought it with me. I did. About halfway through. Well, halfway plus, because I got halfway through, And then I found out there was another Maryland chapter. So I read, oh, there's tea. Thank you, Griffin. He's working on that. He'll be back, I think. If my voice doesn't hold up, he'll be hosting the show. The Price, What It Takes to Win in College Football's Era of Chaos. That's the book from Armen Keteyian and John Talty, and Armen will join us a little bit later on in the program. Speaking of books, it is like summer book report day. Like I did all my summer reading, and now I got to talk about it. This one, however, was a PDF, so I can't hold it up for you. Unitas to Unitas is the new book from Joe Unitas, one of the sons of John Unitas. It's all about the lessons that he learned from his father. We will talk to him about that as well. Thank you. Here's the problem with trying to drink hot tea when you're doing a show.
So
it's abrasive.
Yeah.
Like, it's not... You can't smoothly drink it like you would a water.
Right.
You have to like prepare yourself
really
for
take your
it,
time
and
as
then
well.
and then there's the risk that you're gonna dump it everywhere. It's you can't talk while you're drinking tea. It's a nightmare. Like, let's just be honest, it's a nightmare.
I'm hoping it shouldn't be like blistering hot because it wasn't like it came out of the thing, so it wasn't like it was just boiling. Oh, okay. Actually, we might have had straws back there. Do you want a straw?
I've never drank tea out of a straw, but maybe. No, I'm okay. I'm okay. I hope I'm okay. We'll find out if I'm okay. I have no idea if I'm okay or not, Griffin. Today is
I did love just I seen you go.
Today is yeah. Should turn that into a GIF. Ooh. Not startling at all. Totally fine. I was talking about something. Oh yeah, what was coming up on the program? I feel like there was something else. Was there something? Oh yes. Griffin is very excited about the Whipsnakes getting ready for the playoffs on Monday. They're doing a Labor Day bit in the PLL this year. Head coach Jim Stagnitta.
It's a good bit.
You like that?
I think so.
You like that? Kirk Cousins? You like that?
Labor Day lacrosse?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Labor Day lacrosse? Yeah.
Well, it's like late afternoon.
Was it 3 and
lacrosse.
5
I believe it's
times?
4 and 6:30.
Oh, okay.
Is when they're playing. Yeah, because
Okay.
I think the Whips are the second game in the semifinals. Yeah. Oh no, the quarterfinals. Sorry, this is the quarterfinals coming up on Monday.
Yes.
Because 2 teams got a bye.
Correct.
Right. I remember
Yeah.
that now. So they'll take on the Denver Outlaws in the quarterfinals on Monday evening. We'll talk about it with Coach Stagnitta a little bit later on, and I think that's it. I think that's what we're doing today.
So
I'm drinking tea.
Okay. All right.
Did you prepare something?
I could do this while we.
Experience the thrill of the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, coming October 17th to 20th. See the world's best equestrians compete in the sport of eventing, the ultimate test of horse and rider. Enjoy a weekend festival featuring local food, shopping, and fun for all. Come for the event and stay for the experience in Cecil County, home to the Chesapeake Bay waterfront, vibrant small towns, and family entertainment. Tickets on sale now at maryland5star.us.
Yeah, no man of the match, obviously, from last night as the Orioles lose 6-4 to the Dodgers. Look, the defense was bad, obviously. It was bad. Just bad. And it's been bad. I don't know what there is to say. It definitely feels like Gunnar Henderson's struggles both ways have impacted him. But like it's I don't know what the chicken and the egg is here. Like I don't know what came first. Did his defensive struggles begat his offensive struggles? Did his offensive struggles begat his defensive struggles? What does it take in order for him to bust out of that? I don't have any of those answers. None of it forgives another what ends up. This is one of those weird bits where like the numbers won't say it was a dreadful outing for Corbin Burns necessarily. Because he literally only gave up 1 earned run. Which is a kind of a goofy bit that like if there's an error that leads off an inning, like you just get to wash your hands of the entire inning.
When I pitch, I like that.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Sure, all pitchers love that. Like, nothing matters now. He gave up 5 base runners in 5 innings. Like, I don't want to say that's a great start, but I can do math. I went to Perry Hall. That's a 1-0-0 whip. But obviously there were 6 runs. By the way, how about the bullpen again? It is worth pointing that out, that, like, the thing that we're terrified the most about, everybody's apparently against. All you need to do is face the Dodgers, and everybody's good. It's a weird
Maybe
bit, man.
it's a good sign. A lot of people in the stands, a lot of people watching.
Okay, because you're going to get that in the postseason.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah,
they like the lights.
Gregory Soto and Craig Kimbrell both having scoreless innings in this economy? What the hell is going on around these parts? I don't know. I don't have a ton of takeaways. Like, early on, I think Kevin Brown cursed it when he was like, last night they were 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. Tonight they're already 2 for 4. Shut up. I love you. Shut up. Like, let's let that play out. Okay? They finished 2 for 7. Ramon Urias. I just realized you asked why a lot of people were like, dude, Ramon Urias wasn't your man of the match the other night. He hit the go-ahead home run. Well, no, I just thought that the Matt Bowman thing was so bloody stunning that it qualified as man of the match.
And we
Then I realized,
expect this from Ramon.
Yeah, well, okay, you say that. It's so funny you say that. He's not on the board.
Oh.
Somebody pointed that out to me yesterday. So now I feel bad. Because I should have been looking for an excuse to get Ramon Urias on the board. I can't believe he's been the MVP of the team in the second half. How is he not on the board? So last night, when he has the big 2-run double, I'm saying to myself, oh, thank God. A chance to get Ramon Urias back on the board. Or on the board. Alas. I don't know. I don't have a lot to say about it. I say that. I've already said a bunch. It's a bummer. It's also the Orioles. Like this is what it is. They haven't been a good defensive team in a long time. A long time. And so when we talk about checking those boxes, things that sometimes I ask, hey, what is it that you want to see from a team going into the playoffs? I remember Buck was like a team that catches the ball. I'm like, well, yeah, they were. They used to be. And the news gets worse. Not that Jorge Mateo was likely to be the make or break in their ability to win a World Series. But as we talked about, their ability to just stay afloat, right? Yes, it's been 500 ball for some time. But if you could just stay afloat and get your guys back, then you got a chance. Well, now we know it's one less guy that you're going to have a chance to get back because Jorge Mateo essentially is having Tommy John surgery. Cool. It will be interesting to see. It's funny because we did it as Would You Rather Wednesday yesterday, but if Ramon Urias continues to perform like this, it really will be interesting to see what this looks like when Jordan Westburg returns. At that point, Ramon Urias is probably an everyday player, and Jackson Holliday is probably not. But that's if it continues. Someone might say, hey, maybe you didn't have spots for all of these guys. If you need what Jorge Mateo presents you. We made fun of the idea of putting Christian Pache on this team. But, I said then, if you could just skip ahead to the playoffs, if you could throw him on the IL until the playoffs started, you'd want that. Because you do want those guys to go try to manufacture you some runs late in games. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Jorge Mateo. He's a better baseball player than Christian Pache. It's a bummer, man. It's a bummer. There's no way around it. It's bummer on top of a bummer on top of a bummer. But they have another chance to go try to win the series, and winning a series in Los Angeles would still be very significant. And thankfully, obviously, the Yankees also lost last night. Back-to-back losses to the Nationals.
Go Nats.
Natitude, baby. We've got it. We've got natitude.
Hashtag, baby. Hashtag natitude.
Natitude. Let's go Walgreens. We're all in on Walgreens. So the Orioles are only one game back still, and they'll send – I mean, who else would you want? The series – in the series decider against one of the best teams in baseball, you've got the trump card because you have Cade Povich. Go get him. Go get him. Cade Povich then against Bobby Miller. Another 10-10 game, jerks, to wrap up the series this evening.
Bobby Miller struggled as well for whatever, if that's worth anything.
So had Walker Buehler.
Yeah, well, he didn't get to 5. I mean,
It's
there
true.
were chances.
It's true. They did the bit that the Orioles did the night before. Everybody's treating it like playoff games.
Yeah.
That's been one of the fun things about this series. It's definitely had a playoff vibe. I mean, we could have used a little more Shohei Ohtani content last night. Didn't have quite enough of that.
My God.
Holy.
I was like watching like the first pitch thing. I was sitting there trying to be like, I mean, all right, come on, so what? It's his dog, and then just watching it, and I'm like, this is fantastic.
Don't get me wrong, it's adorable. Like, don't get me wrong. Just getting beat over the head with it. It's a bit much. Ravens, nothing. We wondered when after the 53-man roster was set. Usually, pretty quickly, there's still some tinkering. We're more than 24 hours in, and yet there's been no tinkering. Tyler Huntley became available this morning. Rita and I are opposed. And it's not even like because we're that confident in Josh Johnson. It's because we've seen that. I think that Tyler Huntley was serviceable at best in a Greg Roman offense. In a situation where you need someone to make throws, we have all the evidence. What's going on over there?
Sorry.
You good?
Yeah, it was supposed to be muted, and it wasn't.
All right. Tyler Huntley has not proven himself capable of making the caliber of throws that are needed to be made in the NFL. So, no. If it's Josh Johnson or Tyler Huntley, my answer is Josh Johnson. I don't love it, but that's my answer. That's the route that I would go. There's nothing else that really jumps out at me in particular. There was a weird report yesterday that the Packers thought Christian Welch was re-signing with the Ravens, and then the Ravens were like, huh? Matt LaFleur apparently told reporters that Christian Welch was going to re-sign with the Ravens. And then Jeff Zrebeck tweeted out, like, yeah, that would be news to the Ravens.
Maybe he was just trying to, generate some buzz for the guy, and
Very weird, man.
somebody else to be like, oh, wait, the Ravens are in? Let's go.
Yeah, right.
Let's go talk to him real quick.
Very weird, dude. That is a very weird bit. I feel like that was about all that mattered. They set the practice squad. If you're a Dayton Wade truther, the good news is that Dayton Wade is still
Kadir's back.
Kadir. Yeah, if you love Kadir Ismail, he's on the practice squad. Devin Leary, if that got you all hot and bothered, he's back on the practice squad. You can't get me. You can't get me to get worked up about the practice squad. And we'll see if perhaps there's still a veteran running back that they would consider over the course of the next week. Is that it? Is that all the significant news? Can we take a break and then talk to Joe Serpico?
I think that is the.
Give me a chance to suck down some more hot tea. We're going to continue Fantasy Week, Joe Serpico, then our first picks of the 2024 campaign. Unfortunately, Andrew Stecca quit the league, but we're still going to do it. Spent 2 days explaining he was not kidding. He was quitting.
I was not kidding either.
You didn't have a choice. Let's be fair. We'll do fantasy and picks next with Joe Serpico, Glenn Clark Radio.
Experience the thrill of the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, coming October 17th to the 20th. See the world's best equestrians compete in the sport of eventing, the ultimate test of horse and rider. Enjoy a weekend festival featuring locally sourced food at the Fresh Food Fest, a beer, wine, and spirits showcase, shopping, and fun for all ages. Check out the Maryland Corgi Cup, interactive kids corner, and more. It's the place to be in October. Visit MarylandFivestar.us for tickets.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Baltimore's Classic 5 golf courses make golf fun and affordable. All 5 local courses, Pine Ridge, Mount Pleasant, Forest Park, Carroll Park, and Clifton Park, are challenging and fun for players of all skill levels. Book your tee time today at classic5golf.com.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin, and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The latest edition of Pressbox is available now. On the cover, Bo Smolka profiles Ravens star safety Kyle Hamilton, detailing his path from growing up the son of a basketball player to choosing football, being overlooked in the draft, and turning into a defensive unicorn as a playmaking Swiss Army knife in the NFL. Also inside, meet college football players from all of the area's D1 programs and some of the area's college soccer standouts as well. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Thursday edition of the program. So Rita and I were having some fun the other night on the show. Rita said something like, I don't want to go back to Tyler Huntley. And I was like, oh, you sound like Kamala. Like, we're not going back. We're not going back. So we've turned it into this bit related to Tyler Huntley this week. And got a bunch of responses to it. And Jay asks, do you understand why it is the Ravens weren't in on Taylor Heineke? And admittedly, I had seen that he was traded to the Chargers, but I didn't see what the price was. Apparently, it was a conditional 6th-round pick. And here's my best guess. It's the conversation we had yesterday. They just don't want to give up assets for a backup quarterback. Because what we're talking about, the path by which a backup quarterback might matter is extraordinarily narrow. You're not, I get it, ironically, as has been brought up, there is a backup quarterback did win a Super Bowl a few years back. The likelihood, if Lamar Jackson were to get hurt, that your season could be saved by any backup quarterback is incredibly slim. The likelihood that there is this unique circumstance that we talk about, the thing that we always bring up, this what if you miss him for 3 games exactly? The likelihood of that, the specificity of exactly 3 games is also incredibly slim. So, and I'm someone who thinks that they should have done better than Josh Johnson as backup quarterback. But I can understand if internally they say, we just don't think it's worth trading draft capital of any sort for this very specific circumstance. That's the case. I understand it. It's easy for me. I'm 6th round draft picks don't do a ton for me. But I get it. You got to have depth too. Somebody would say, hey, you tried using a 6th round pick on a quarterback. How's that working out for you? He's not even on the team. Today's show brought to you by the Stan the Fan Variety Hour. Stan's back in action. Later on this afternoon, 5:30, he and Eric Garfield will get together to continue talking Orioles prospects. You can watch it, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. If you miss it there, youtube.com/PressBoxOnline, PressBoxOnline.com/video. All right, we're going to be doing this all season long. Well, 2 things that we're going to be doing all season long. One, we're going to be making picks, and we'll get to that in a second. But first, we're going to be talking fantasy football with our buddy, PressBox fantasy football analyst, Mr. Joe Serpico, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Joe, what's going on, buddy?
How's it going, gentlemen? I have no idea what I signed up for with these picks, but
we will
let's get into that
we'll,
at some point.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. I also want to continue. Obviously, this week has been Fantasy Week here on GCR. When Joe joins us all season long, Joe is going to be brought to you by our friends at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. There is still time. If you are still scrambling to plan and schedule and get your fantasy draft taken care of, there is still time for you to step in and do something about it. Just say, forget it. I'm handling it. I've got it. And go to PressBoxOnline.com/social, and you can register to host your league's draft this weekend, early next week, at Live Casino and Hotel inside Sports and Social. You got your choice of all-you-can-eat entrees, plus your drinks, plus the custom draft kit, plus trophy for the league winners taken care of, plus a nice $75 gift card tip to the commissioner for scheduling it all. But you're in. You got to do it now. Waste no more time. Do it today. PressBoxOnline.com/social. Get signed up. Host your fantasy draft at Live Casino and Hotel. Joe, I had my first draft of the year last night. I want you to grade my performance, if you don't mind. All right?
Sure.
I had the 6th pick in a 12-team league. In the first round, I took Bijan Robinson.
I like it.
All right. I couldn't pull the trigger on Jamar Chase. I know how these things typically work. It's all going to be fine. It's all going to get worked out. They're probably going to announce a contract tomorrow, right? But watching him wander around the street, I'm like, I don't know. It was just enough for me to say I can't do it. So I went Bijan Robinson. Round 2, Puka Nacua.
Don't like it.
Whoa.
I am off Puka Nacua big this year. I think it's Cooper Cup season. I think he's going to be the Rams receiver you want to own. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think you want to have both, but I don't like Puka Nacua that high. I have liked him more as, let's say, a 3rd or 4th round guy. I think Cup is the guy come into the season.
All right. Well, Joe Serpico, it's been great talking to you. Hope you have a great day, and we will see you down the road. I'll only go through my top 5 picks. Round 3, I went Mike Evans.
Always a safe pick. As safe as it comes when it comes to receivers in fantasy football.
Round 4, James Cook.
Love James Cook this year. He's actually the guy that I want on most of my teams. I think most of my best ball teams and every one of the other teams that I'm doing this year redraft, I want James Cook as much as possible.
And then this was the one that I didn't like myself. I just didn't like my options. Round 5, I went back to Buffalo for Dalton Kincaid.
Why don't you like that one? I guess would be more my question.
I don't like taking tight ends that early. I don't like it. I'm torn now. Like last year, I went mega early on tight ends because I got my ass got lit on fire by the tight end position 2 years ago. This year, I am convinced that the tight end group is deeper, and I would have liked to have waited a little bit longer for an Evan Ingram or a Kyle Pitts. Now, for what it's worth, after I took Dalton Kincaid, everybody in the rest of the 5th round went tight end. So maybe, as it turns out, I knew what I was doing. But I just don't like tight end that early.
I mean, I have been saying that Dalton Kincaid is somebody I think can finish as tight end 1 this year, just because there's not a whole lot of options in Buffalo.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, those are my first 5. And you only mildly roasted it, so I feel a little bit better about that. Talk me through that. Talk me through tight end and the strategy for you. As everybody's going into their drafts this weekend, where do you start considering each of this group of tight ends?
I did a live draft over this past weekend, and once the run starts to go, it seems like to be a thing that they all go, kind of like you said about your league there as well. Evan Ingram is the guy that I like to heavily target too, but I've even seen him starting to shoot up draft boards. It seems like the 2 positions that everybody are heavily targeting now is running back, because they get so scarce, and then there is an elite, let's say, 5 or 7 tight ends, and then there is kind of a little bit of a drop-off there. So everybody kind of wants to get those elite running backs and those elite tight ends, and I kind of, like I said, Evan Ingram for me is like the guy that's like bottoms out that group there. But, if you see the run going, you almost have to jump in on it. I know I did the exact same thing. I got Evan Ingram. That's the guy I kind of wanted, but just because I knew that the run of tight ends was happening. It just seems to be the thing with those 2 positions this year.
I did not end up going. So my big take going into fantasy draft season is I'm not drafting a quarterback. You're not getting me to use even a top 9 round pick on a quarterback, because it just seems like the depth is too overwhelming. And I'm not trying to pretend that I don't understand there's a difference. But in the 10th and 11th, or in the 10th and 11th, or 11th and 12th, whatever it was, I went I went Jared Goff and Tua back to back. It feels like the value is too good at the quarterback position for me to be dipping my toes into the, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes waters.
No, I agree with that totally. It's definitely a bigger value when you go that little bit later. Now, a guy that I kind of like that late, who still gives you that elite, rushing upside, is Jaden Daniels. I'm trying to get him in as many leagues as possible.
I was hoping it got stolen right out from under me. From under me.
Because what my dream build is, get Jaden Daniels and Jared Goff. You get the best of both worlds essentially. If Jaden Daniels kind of doesn't pan out, you still have Jared Goff, who I love this year just because of the fact how good he was in when the Lions played indoors last year. They're playing like 14 of the first 15 games indoors. So, the Jared Goff is somebody I'm 100% in on. Now, the other thing with Tua is, the knock on him is, once it gets cold, can he keep up with the performance? But just so many options on that team right now, the Dolphins. He might not.
That smells like something I can.
Going to do anything as rushers, but they're going to be put up numbers. That you're getting 4,000 yards and probably 30 touchdowns from both.
Yeah, I'm going to worry about when it gets cold. I'm not going to end up panicking about that in September, where I would expect that Tua is going to be quite productive. He's Joe Serpico. He's with us here in GCR. Joe, who are the guys that you are most surprised? As you've been doing drafts, as you've been doing mocks, who are the guys that you're most surprised are going much earlier than they should go? And obviously you're going to say Puka Nacua is on that list. And the guys that you think are going much later than they should be going.
Well, yeah, Nacua and Cooper Kupp, you could obviously flip-flop for me. I'm all in on George Pickens this year. I've been one of those guys that's on the hype train with him. I like Calvin Ridley probably a little bit more than some people do. I think we talked about last time I was on about Rashee Rice, how he's going far too high. He is definitely somebody that is creeping way higher now that it doesn't look like a suspension's coming for him at all. On the other way, it's hard for me to draft some of these Packers receivers. Yeah, you get them at a discount, but every week you have no idea who it's going to be. Is it going to be Jaden Reed? Is it going to be Christian Watson? Is it going to be Dontavian Wicks? And so it's hard for me to justify using, let's say a top 8 or 9 pick on any of those guys there. So the Packers are kind of hard for me to judge. And I like Nico Collins, but I'm still weary about the other two with Diggs and Tank Dell. I just can't imagine all 3 guys finishing as top 30 receivers, and that's how they're all going. So the Texans are kind of fading a little bit. I think they're all kind of valued a little bit too high outside of Nico Collins. And then all the Packers I'm trying to avoid just because you just don't know who it's going to be.
I completely get that. I mean, I really do understand that, though. I have not like I've shied almost completely away from all of the Texans wide receivers just because like I think they're all good, but I just don't know which one's going to be the one. And I feel like it's going to be one of those things where every week you're like, can I definitely start? Is it going to be his week? Like, can I definitely start him? I understand that thought process entirely. Where are you taking Derrick Henry?
Derrick Henry's got to be, like, say, middle of the second round, late second round at worst. He's going to get fed. He's going to take away some of those runs probably inside the goal line that Lamar Jackson might be taking. This whole offense is going to be built around Derrick Henry and Lamar, just because it's going to be so scary. Every defense is going to have to figure out which one do you want to stop. Pick your poison, essentially. And Derrick Henry is just one of those guys. Now, yeah, the offensive line is still an issue, but I think we're overthinking that just because we haven't seen how that's all going to go or gel because we just haven't seen it yet. But I think Derrick Henry is almost a lock to get to 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. As far as for fantasy purposes, even if he gives you a game where it's just 60 yards and a touchdown, there's 14 points for you right there. So I think he is as safe as it is. Kind of like I said with Mike Evans, he might not finish as a top 5 running back anymore just because he doesn't contribute as a pass catcher, but he's still as solid as it gets, and you're probably going to get 10 touchdowns in that 1,000 yards. And, it's coming. It's just almost a guarantee barring injury.
I'm almost mad at myself for doing these mock drafts because, like, in these mock drafts that I did, Derrick Henry was slipping to, like, the end of the second round, the early in the third round. I'm like, oh, yeah, I love this. And then I remember I'm drafting with a bunch of Ravens fans. Like, that's just not happening. And the same thing, I mentioned the quarterbacks earlier. Like, the Jaden Daniels was available in the mock drafts, regularly available until the 11th, 12th round in all these mock drafts that I did. And then I did one draft last night and forgot that my guy, Adam Pohl, the Bowie Bay Sox, Commanders fan. Course. Son of a bitch. The mock drafts really screwed me a little bit. What you want to?
Yeah, I need help.
Okay.
I have the second pick this weekend, Joe. Do I go CeeDee Lamb or Tyreek Hill?
CeeDee Lamb.
Okay, that's what I was leaning towards.
Reason being just because Tyreek Hill still has Jalen Waddle there to kind of compete with targets. And I really like Jalen Waddle this year for fantasy purposes. But let's face it, outside of CeeDee Lamb, who's getting the ball for it? I mean, they can sign whatever running backs they want. They're not going after any receivers. It is CeeDee Lamb's job to probably get 180 targets this year. So, yeah, definitely Lamb if you ask me.
All right. Anything else, any other last-minute advice you would have for everybody going in to their drafts this weekend?
Stop freaking out about the Kyren Williams punt returner news that's come out the past couple of days. I see some people saying he falls all the way down in the 5th or 6th round for me. Please let me get in your league if that's the case. The guy's still going to get somewhere between 15 and 20 touches a game. It's just one more way to get the ball in his hands. I highly doubt he is the primary guy. Maybe he's in there 2-3 of those a game. Again, I think it's just another reason for him to get some more touches. Now, this does kind of boost the value for Blake Corum as well. I've kind of moved him up a little bit because now, that does open up the opportunity for potential injury for Kyren Williams. But, yes, this latest news that people are starting to freak out about, I saw some people say drop him all the way to 10th. There's no way. He's still going to be heavily involved in that Rams offense. But, yeah, boost up Corum a little bit, but you still want all of it. And if you really do see him starting to slip, take advantage of that and draft Kyren Williams in the 3rd round.
Man, if a Kyren Williams is sitting around, there's no way. If he's in the 2nd round, he's not getting past me, baby. Like, there is no chance.
I agree with you there, but I've seen, he started to really, even on Fantasy Pros, and I've seen it all over the internet yesterday. I was like, please let me get in those leagues. Please.
All right. Very good. Now, let's transition from Fantasy Week with Joe Serpico. Now we move into picks. We should do an open for picks, Griffin. Can we work on that? All right.
What are we thinking?
I don't know. Not the time to deal with that. That is an off-air situation. I don't know how many years we've done picks. I'm going to say this is like our 10th year with this picks league. And it grew and grew and grew. It started with a very small group of us, and now it's grown. And normally it'll be KZ who'll be with us on Thursdays because since Joe was coming on anyway, we decided to keep him around and let him do picks with us because Joe Serpico, ladies and gentlemen, is joining the crew this year for our picks league. You're fired up about this, right?
I wouldn't say I'm fired up.
Oh, come on.
I just hope I don't finish last. Let's
come
put it that
on.
way.
You're good. Griffin, how many total people now in our picks league? Because hang on, let's count them up. Right, it's you and me.
Yes.
It's 2. Then we of course Ken Zales.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Serpico is in.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Ottenheimer is still in.
Correct.
Ryan Chell is still in. Correct.
Correct.
Paul Valley, I believe, is still in.
He is, in fact.
By the way, that confirms every producer I've ever had still in this league. I don't know who else in this business is not despised by all of their former producers. John from Little Rock.
Yes.
Still in, right?
John Proctor.
John Proctor. All of the Johns. We do really well in the John committee. Unfortunately, we had a couple of defections this year. Dr. Nick Kelly is no longer in the league, but we did add former NST intern James Revere has joined the league this year. But sadly, we also lost Andrew Stecca this year. I tried. I forgot about Jeremy.
Jeremy's
right?
11.
Jeremy's in. But yeah, unfortunately, we lost Andrew Stecca. That's a real bummer. I really wanted to have him around. I don't know what's going on with him. But Andrew Stecca told us he wasn't kidding. He's out of the league. So we'll miss him. So that means we've got how many people? 1, 2, 3,
That would be
4, 5,
11.
6, 7. 11. Not bad.
No.
Not bad. So you sent the picks out last night.
Yes.
And you got, well, not mine, obviously, because I do it on the
right.
show. And you, I guess, don't respond to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But you got 9 responses,
It
correct?
was weird because I was going through it, and I did get 10 responses.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Well, did you respond to yourself?
No, I didn't respond to myself. I went to double check.
Well, you didn't send me the email, so.
Were you not on the email?
Oh, was I on the
No,
email?
you should have been.
I don't think I'm normally.
No.
Am I? Oh, maybe you did send me the email. Normally, I'm not on the email. We'd come in here and do it the next day. Oh, I was on the email.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I definitely
normally
didn't.
put you
I
in
can
there.
confirm I did not respond.
Okay.
So who
I
is
can
this?
confirm that as well.
Who is this rogue 12th?
Well, yeah, I was
person?
going through. It was all the people we named.
Right.
And then it was somebody named Andrew Stecca.
What the? Knew he wasn't quitting. You can't.
He couldn't help himself.
12 of us in the league. So that means
I didn't even know I got the games.
That means we gotta. Yeah, right. We're gonna have to start getting on it. Everybody's got to pay Griffin $25 a
pay
pop.
me. Okay.
Pay Griffin. All right. Well, Griffin will send you the payment info, but it'll be $300 for the winner. Then that's the way to work.
Yeah.
I can do math.
Wow.
$300 for the winner. The loser is the only thing that really matters here, because the loser of our picks league is going to have to pay the ultimate price.
Yes.
Death. Oh no, sorry. Worse than death. Loser of our league, in honor of the NFL going to Brazil for the first time. I know you're fired up, Serpico. Are you going down there with the birds?
No, that's too far out of my pay grade
Fair-
to make it down
fair
there.
enough.
I like the comfort of my couch for that price.
So, in honor of the trip to Brazil, we have a 4-part Brazil-themed punishment for the loser. First part is getting a Brazilian. Makes all the sense in the world. You'll get waxed right here in studio one day. The whole thing. We're gonna put your taint right there on the inner. We'll not do that. We'll put up a. We'll figure out a way. We'll make it make sense. But you're getting a Brazilian. You're getting the whole thing. Number 2. You called it there's a name for this thing.
What?
It's the Brazilian. It's called a
Paulista.
What is
right?
it?
Couscous.
Cuscuz Paulista.
I linked it, whatever it was.
Yes, it's a sardine casserole of some sort that also has olives and looks like an utter abomination.
Hard-boiled eggs.
It looks like a fruit cake, but take all the fruit out
And put random stuff
and
from your
put
fridge.
exactly right. That's what this thing is. Number 3, a little Brazilian jiu-jitsu is our friend MMA icon John Rollo will join us in studio, and you will take 4 strikes of his choosing. And number 4. There'll be a musical component, as always, as you will perform in studio both Copacabana and Rio by Duran Duran.
There it was.
That is the 4-part punishment. You nervous about this, Joe?
Why wouldn't I be?
Why would you be, though? Think about it. It's going to be beautiful. All right, let's get into it. Only college games for week 1, so we decided to expand it. Normally, we only do 3 college games, but we decided to do 7 for this week. In the future, it'll be 3 college games, 6 NFL games, but for this week only, 7 college games. Griffin, let's start flying through it.
All right, tonight, college football kickoff. Well, I guess it was week 0 was technically college football kickoff.
We got to pick up the pace.
On ESPN at 8 o'clock tonight, North Dakota State travels to Boulder to take on Coach Prime, Shedeur Sanders, and the Colorado Buffaloes, who are laying 10 points. Colorado minus 10 is the line.
I was really hoping this line would be bigger. Griffin begged me to include this game.
It's gonna be a great
He was
game.
like, dude, we got to include this game. I'm like, why? One of them isn't even an FBS team. The other one isn't relevant. Beg me to include this game. Like I want to take North Dakota State because I do think that Colorado is fraudulent, and North Dakota State, as we all know, regularly very good. Although, did they win the title last year?
Who won the FCS last year?
I got to be honest with you. I do not pay attention to these things unless Towson's involved, and that was only one time. So why would I still be paying attention to it? Oh God. You know what? What the hell? Let's start it off with a bang. North Dakota State to cover. Go ahead, Griffin.
South Dakota State beat
North Dakota.
Montana.
Oh, North Dakota State didn't even make the title game? I immediately regret my pick. North Dakota State anyway. Go. Come on, we got to move.
I mean, yeah, I don't like it. I don't know which games on their schedule. I'm like, oh, that's a win for Colorado. But this is still Coach Prime, prime time Thursday nights. North Dakota State didn't play an FBS team a year ago. I'm gonna take the Buffaloes.
All right, very good. Joe.
I got Colorado. Keon's got something to prove with all the talk about him lately.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure he's capable of that. What's the split?
You said North Dakota?
I said North Dakota.
You, Kyle, John in Little Rock, and Jeremy.
Oh, so you've got Stecca?
I do have
What a
Stecca.
start. 1 for 1, baby. Championship.
Oh, you think you got the first one right.
Right.
Number 14, Clemson. Not a road game. It's a neutral site in Atlanta.
Right.
Against Georgia. Number 1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs, who are laying 13.5. That's at noon on ABC.
Georgia. I mean, I don't know anything about these. Let's not pretend like I know anything about these games or about these teams. I just know one of them's Georgia. The other one has been disappointing for the last couple of seasons, and until they tell me that they're different, I'm not going to. Dabo Sweeney won't take live calls on his radio show anymore because everybody's like getting on it. They're getting on his ass there. Forget it, Georgia. Joe.
Oh yes.
Georgia. Carson Beck dices up that week's Clemson secondary.
I'm on Georgia as well. I mean, it's really how long can Clemson's defense keep them in it, but I don't think that'll be too long. So yeah, I will take Georgia as well. You think it would be like fewer and further between the lone wolves that we get, but we do have a lone wolf here.
Oh, well, go ahead.
It is.
Let me hear it. Thank you.
Paul Valley all by himself.
Paul Valley on Clemson could be a chance to steal a point early.
Number 8, Penn State. They are going to Morgantown.
Yeah.
Week 1 here. Number 8, Penn State at West Virginia. That game is also at noon on Fox. Penn State is laying 8 on the road.
That's where big noon kickoff is, right? Everybody's hot and bothered about Drew Aller. He does not overwhelm me in any way. But I think I saw somebody's Big Ten quarterback rankings had him number 2, and I was really is that where we're at this point? Only behind Dylan Gabriel, if I remember correctly.
I mean.
I get it. Will Howard hasn't really proven anything yet. I understand, but I'm just not there yet. Drew Aller to me looks like most of the other Penn State quarterbacks. He's fine. He's Matt McGloin, Mike McQueary. He's just
he's no Trace McSorley.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Look, man, I don't know enough about West Virginia here. I know it's going to be a rabid atmosphere. I think it's where a big noon kickoff is this week. But I'll still ride with Penn State anyway. Joe.
Yeah, give me Penn State as well. They won by 23 last year. I believe they'll win by double digits this year.
Yeah, I want to root for West Virginia. Their quarterback is Garrett Green. He's really exciting. He runs a lot. But James Franklin bets on the games, so I will take Penn State.
That is a good point. He loves covering. He loves if he gets all of his players hurt, he doesn't care because he's doing it for the alums. The alums are telling him, "We need this one, Chief."
Taking the +8 on the Mountaineers, Andrew Stecca.
Okay.
John in Little Rock, KZ, and Kyle.
This couldn't be going any better.
Yeah.
This could not be going any better for your boy. This is something you'll learn, Joe Serpico. You always want to be on the other side of how Andrew Stecca picks. And because Andrew Stecca, we told him he has got to lose or he's got to win the league or avoid losing spectacularly. Right. He might be purposely trying to throw things early to give himself a chance to avoid losing spectacularly at the end. So keep that in mind.
Could be smart. Could be smart. Staying on ABC at 3:30 in Gainesville, number 19 Miami.
All the SEC football is now on ABC or ESPN. They have all of the CBS game is gone now. The CBS is only the Big Ten, I believe, or the Mountain West or something like that. They've got. I think their primetime game on Saturday is UCLA Hawaii. Because anytime a major team plays a Mountain West team, it's now going to be a CBS game. Sorry, go ahead.
Hurricanes -2.5 on the road.
we do this every year. We overhype Miami, right? Like I know they've spent a ton of NIL money recently, and I get that. Like, what is there to like about Florida? But it is a home game, and I think there has been no team that's been more overhyped in recent years than Miami's been. Florida is my pick here. Joe.
I'm going Miami for the sheer reason that I have a wager with them to make the CFP this year.
Whoa.
So I need them to win this game.
Whoa.
So, yes, give me Miami.
Yeah, this was tough because Florida's got like the hardest schedule I think in all of college football this
year.
So like this feels like one of the games where it's like they have a
but
chance.
I also just don't know how good Miami is.
Right.
I don't know.
Like Joe said, a lot of people are taking Miami to win the ACC or make the playoff.
I do like Cam Ward. Like I like him, but do I think that he's a game changer?
And
or
can he overcome Mario Cristobal? Like that's the other thing to think about. I don't like going against Ben Hall's big on Miami as well. I don't like going against Ben, but I'm taking Florida here as well.
All right,
getting the points. On Miami alongside Joe will be Ken. He said he's going to be wrong though. But
Ken is a fan.
Like
Ken is an emotional investment in that.
John in Little Rock, Ryan Shell, Jeremy on Miami.
Ken's one of those weirdos where like he's a Maryland basketball fan and a Miami football fan, and I still have to be able to look in the eye and pretend like I respect him. Like, dude, come on, man. Go ahead.
And James and Joe as well on Miami.
So.
Is that a split?
No, that means it's a problem.
What? Oh, that we have Stecca. Yeah,
right.
We have Stecca.
Damn it! Burn the ships.
It is a clean split though, 6-6.
Well, how about that?
Number 7 Notre Dame at number 20 Texas A&M. That one's at 7:30 on ABC. I realized I didn't add the mascot.
You didn't tell us what the line was.
Oh, so that might help. You can guess it, I think.
Is it Notre Dame -3?
Other way. Texas A&M -3.
The action has moved significantly because Notre Dame started as a favorite in this game, like in the summer. That's just enough for me to bite on Notre Dame. Like I would not when Notre Dame. I was like, man, I kind of like Texas A&M there, but that's enough for me to bite. I get it. That's only a push if they lose by a field goal, and I get that Notre Dame regularly comes up small in big games. Like I understand that, but I'm not really sure how big of a game this is either. I don't know. I understand, again, Texas A&M is
every game's big.
That's a great point. Texas A&M is a program that spent a ton of money in NIL, but we have not seen – how's that worked out for Jimbo Fisher? So now Mike Elko comes in, and I like Mike Elko, but – somebody would say the advantage is he knows Riley Leonard really well, but I still just think Notre Dame is a better overall team. I think I saw for the first time ever they're starting an all-underclassmen offensive line, so that might be a little – concerning when it comes to Notre Dame. Still, Notre Dame's the pick here. You're giving me points. I just what faith is there to have in Texas A&M? Go ahead, Joe.
I'm going Notre Dame as well. This is the one game early on in the season that they must win. Like I was saying about Miami before, Notre Dame's on the flip side of that. They need to they got to win every game. They don't really have a automatic qualifier like the rest of the conference do. So they need this game. And they're getting points. Give me Notre Dame.
I'm on the same side. It's interesting with Riley Leonard. It's going to come down to who I think runs the ball better, and I think Riley Leonard is going to have a lot of juice as well going against Coach Elko. I'm afraid I'm going to undervalue.
Not that I have any reason to think that they don't like each other or anything like that. I think they get along fine.
So I'm on the Irish as well. So us three on Notre Dame, as well as John in Little Rock, Ryan Shell, and James Revere.
Oh, thank God! All right.
Yeah,
I was getting nervous. Yeah.
Then to Sunday night, number 23 USC going to Baton Rouge, taking on LSU. I believe that's a campus game, right?
I believe.
Okay.
I think it is.
That's at ABC 7:30 and LSU -4.
I have no idea. I'm not going to pretend like I know anything about either of these teams. I don't. No, that game is in Vegas. Apparently.
Oh, it is.
That game is in Vegas. Yeah, nice call.
Yep.
My bad.
I certainly like the direction of LSU. USC's. Everybody remembers a year ago. Their defense was so bad they couldn't win with Caleb Williams as their quarterback. It's hard for me to fathom that they have upgraded. Remind me what the line is one more time?
LSU -4.
Yeah, that's not. I need LSU. That's the pick.
Yeah, LSU's the pick for me too. For what you said, the defense that USC has. Both teams starting over with new quarterbacks, but give me LSU. I trust the SEC guys over Pac-12 defense.
Yeah, I don't. That line.
It's not even Pac-12 defense anymore.
Right. It's Big Ten. It's Big Ten defense. Show some respect. That line would almost have to be over 2 touchdowns for me to think about it the other way. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. But that's exactly what I wrote down. Does Lincoln Riley do Lincoln Riley teams play defense yet? So no. I will take LSU and the over as well.
Oh, look at you.
I think it's like 64.
I like that.
should soar over. 2 people taking the Trojans, Jeremy Kahn and John and Little Rock.
But, you know, again, Jeremy's not changing. Despite him getting his ass kicked in our league last year, Jeremy will not change the way that he makes his – like, he bets against the public. That's the way that it goes. He will always do that no matter what. He's not changing his philosophy.
All right, and finally on FS1 at noon in College Park.
With the Clark family in attendance. We're going.
Oh, okay.
We're going to the game on Saturday.
Nice.
I'm looking forward to it.
UConn at Maryland. Maryland laying 20.5 in the opener.
How do you pick Maryland to cover 20.5?
They've done it.
And I know, but it's not a Rutgers game.
Rutgers sometimes good.
I don't know that you – yeah, that's a great point. We still don't know who the quarterback is.
It's going to be Billy, I think.
I assume it's going to be Billy, but, like, I always come back to, like, they brought in MJ Morris.
Or will it be Cam Edge?
Yeah, the wild card of all of it. I can't believe I would pick Maryland.
Maybe I'll be quarterback.
Go ahead and get to the part where Ken Zales picked UConn. Just go ahead and say that.
He says UConn outright.
Outright. How could you? I know that UConn's been better. Like, I mean, how could you not be better once you get rid of Randy Edsall again? Damn it, Maryland. I don't like that at all. Oh, I hate that. 20.5. Based on what?
Based on the good defense.
Quick, we got to go.
All right, Joe.
I'm going Maryland as well. I know it's a lot of points, but I've made it a thing for the past 10 years to never or always bet against UConn.
Yeah,
so give me Maryland.
I get it.
Yeah, I'm taking the Terps as well. Good defense. They're gonna, Roman Hemby's alive, so I will take him. Have a lot of carries and score a lot of touchdowns.
You guys are showing a lot of disrespect to Big 12 power UConn.
That's right. So yes, I'm taking the Terps. Joining KZ on UConn is Kyle, John and Little Rock, and Jeremy. They are Huskies for the weekend.
Betting against the public. That's the way it goes. UConn's win last year, they had 3 wins. Sacred Heart, UMass, and Rice. Those are the 3 teams.
And if you ask Ken Zales, one of those wins this year will
be against Maryland. All right, at Joe Serp on Twitter is where you follow him. Looking forward to seeing how this goes this season, Joe. Can't wait to see you in here hairless. I can't wait for that moment. That will be. Hey, are we doing this? What's going on with this?
Yeah, next week.
Next week?
Yeah.
What day?
The draft
I'll be in there.
What day is the draft? Tuesday or Wednesday?
Are we doing it Tuesday or Wednesday?
I think it was Wednesday.
Joe?
I was told Wednesday.
All right,
At least
fine.
that's what it was in the group.
Fine, you better
in
talk
that
to
little
Forrest.
group on Sleeper.
Oh, yeah.
All right. You guys got to deal with that. All right. But you're coming in here and you're eating your spaghetti.
Correct.
I look forward to that. That's going to be wonderful. Joe Serpico, thank you, brother. We'll talk to you then.
All right. Take care, guys.
When we come back in, we're going to preview the PLL playoffs. Maryland Whipsnakes coach Jim Stagnitta joins us next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Escape to Ocean City, Maryland, and discover a place that just feels lighter, where every day feels like Saturday and French fries are a food group, where flip-flops are always in fashion and seafood is always in season, where the boardwalk is bustling and the beach is right outside your door, where you can rise with the tide and feel like a kid again. Ocean City, Maryland, somewhere to smile about. Book your trip at OCOcean.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
We've all experienced it before, the fantasy football draft from hell. Your buddy says you can do it at his house, but he never asks his wife. She's screaming at him the whole time and forces you guys to sit outside in the unforgiving heat. Then everyone brings the exact same store-bought 7-layer dip, and somehow you accidentally draft someone named LeVar Jackson because your brain can't function in these circumstances. Don't cop out and just move your draft online this year. Let Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel handle everything for you. Book your draft party, complete with your choice of all-you-can-eat entrees, drinks, and custom draft kits for the whole league, plus a custom trophy for your champion and a $75 gift card for the commish. Visit PressBoxOnline.com/social. That's PressBoxOnline.com/social, and never have a fantasy draft from hell again.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin. and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
Frederick Keys Baseball is back. With 30 more home games beginning on July 2nd, the Keys are excited to welcome you back to Nimio Field at Harry Grove Stadium. We want to see you there. Countless promotions will be on display every game, with it ranging from Tap House Tuesdays to Firework Fridays and everything in between. For more information or to buy tickets, call 301-815-9939 or visit frederickkeys.com today.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR. Don't forget, the Arthur Millette Show is coming. We will kick things off Tuesday, September 10th for the first taping of the Arthur Millette Show. We will be at the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill. Mr. Millette, number 10. He'll be joining us all season long, bringing out special guest teammates and friends. And you can come hang with us. It's just a really cool atmosphere for you to get to know some of your favorite players. You can find You can find out more right now. PressBoxOnline.com/Millette. That's MAULET. We've already got basically the entire schedule for the season you can find right now. PressBoxOnline.com/Millette. So if you give me I can't make it out to that one, the schedule's out there. You can make your plans now to be joining us all season long. We are fired up about it. The shows will be live on Facebook and YouTube. You'll be able to hear them here on GCR, and then Friday nights on 105.7 The Fan. The Arthur Millette Show, brought to you by Easy Pass and Problem Gambling. It all kicks off Tuesday, September 10th. That's the Tuesday after the Kansas City game. Hope that you will come join us for the first edition of the Arthur Millette Show. Coming up this Monday night, the PLL playoffs get underway, and we are joined now here on GCR by the head coach of the Maryland Whipsnakes. Griffin, where are you? Come on, man. Thank you. He is our friend, Coach Jim Stagnitta, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Coach, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm good. Good morning. How are you guys?
Everything is good. So your team, I want to say, was the turning point for you guys the trip out to California? Like, I remember watching that game and thinking to myself, this feels big. Like, this feels like a moment where things could go south, and instead it went almost the opposite way. And obviously there's nothing more electric than a face-off specialist, picking it up and taking it home himself. How important was that for you guys and getting things turned around going into the playoffs?
Well, it was big. I mean, you're right. It was it could have gone either way on that weekend. That was probably going to define the direction we were going to go in the rest of the year. And we had talked about it, right? We kind of laid down the gauntlet at that point that, we have a ton of potential. We have a lot of young guys in the lineup, and our team roster had, kind of evolved over the first 4 weeks or so. And it's what, it's kind of what we had talked about. It was going to happen, and it had to happen. But we kind of marked that one as, hey, these aren't really regular season games for us anymore. These are playoff games because, if we want to continue to play into the postseason, we got to start, every game here from here on out, we have to treat as kind of a do or die playoff game. And, at that point, Glenn, we had probably, our roster had started to come together.
Yeah.
We had made some additions. We had, got some young guys into the lineup, and they were getting a little more comfortable with the older guys. The older guys were really getting energized by these younger guys. And that weekend, it kind of, you're right, it kind of came together for us.
I mentioned the face-off goal. Like, I want to start there with this team because this is a league with outstanding face-off specialists. I mean, this is Trevor Baptiste and T.D. Erlin and Mikey Sisselberger. Joe Nardella somehow becoming the best face-off specialist in the league. And I'm not – we all know he was good. Like, I'm not trying to say it's, like, outrageous. But how much better has he even gotten to be doing the types of things and obviously scoring goals and getting this team fired up the way that he has put it all together this season?
Well, you know how this goes because you deal with all the major sports in Baltimore and dealing with the coaches and the athletes. Joe was the best in the league a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And, was the face-off man of the year. But he is, he plays indoor. He trains constantly. He sells real estate, and he runs a very successful face-off player development business. Joe's been hurt, each and every of the last 3 seasons since he was the face-off man of the year. He's come out of the indoor season with an injury. That being said, he's still competed at a high level. But, this year he had a whole year off of outdoor last year. It's unbelievable how quickly and well he rehabbed his ACL because it was his second one. But for the first time in a number of years, he is completely healthy. And, he brings something to the table. These other guys like TD and Trevor and Joe are changing. They're bringing back the Cassis, the Cannabine type of defender, or face-off guy, who plays the hose of lacrosse player, who plays the game, who can score goals, who can create. And that's where young kids are now evolving to because of those guys. But I recruited Joe at Rutgers, and Joe was a midfielder, not just a face-off guy. He was an all-league midfielder in upstate New York. So the kid can play offense. He has great skill, and he's also, what he does as well as anybody, and I think he and Trevor do the best job of it, is, he can adjust to the opponent and change the way he does things. But long story short, he's completely healthy right now.
That's an old school mentality, man, that you're a lacrosse player. You're not just a face-off specialist. I love that. Coach Jim Stagnitta with us on GCR. I remember you and I joking right after the draft, and I couldn't believe that you guys were able to get TJ Malone where you did. And you made a crack, and people have had fun with it on social media all season long. But maybe we even undersold it then, Coach. Like, maybe we still didn't give it. You knew this kid was special. Everyone who watched him knew this kid was special. How impressed have you been by his ability to adjust to the professional level and have such wild success so early in his career?
Well, I mean, 2 things. I'm probably known, if I wasn't sarcastic, I probably wouldn't have a personality, but that wasn't a crack. I mean, I was, at that point, to get TJ Malone, it was like, I was shocked. And it was, that and Patras kind of made our draft. He is one of the nicest, most balanced, understated players, and I've done this for a long time, that I've ever been around. Yet when the game starts or in his preparation, he is as competitive as is anyone I've ever been around.
Yeah.
And he really has just a great balance to him. And, he is, and this is one of the things that's helped us throughout the years. These young guys have brought this, they've energized a team that was full of veterans who needed to be, inspired again in some regard. And, he has made everybody better. He is unselfish. He, in the guys, just, you can't help but embrace the kid because, there's nothing about him that you look at and go, that guy doesn't have it. I mean, he has it in every aspect of his game on and off the field.
Well, I'm so glad you brought up Patra. I'm a Loyola guy. You know how that is. A guy whose roster spot wasn't guaranteed, right? Like, it wasn't a certainty that he was going to be able to be on the team, and yet he's turned into a 10-goal guy for you. How key has that been? You talk about these young guys. How key has it been that finding, someone that could be such a contributor so late in the draft this year?
Well, number one, this was a good draft, right? Everybody acknowledged that. Number two, we've drafted 7, 8 every year in shallow drafts. So, and we didn't have a lot of needs because, we had great players. We were winning, and it was time to, kind of turn it over a little bit. He had a spot. I mean, I had seen so much of him. He just, with at the end of the season, he had a team trip. He missed the first 3 weeks. I mean, he never, he would spend a day and a half at training camp or 2 days. It was obvious then that he just does everything. And, again, I respect Mark Van. He's been a friend and we've worked together for years. And he told me, he said, Stags, this kid is not your prototypical Canadian.
Yeah.
He's, he has a unbelievable skill set, and it's an unbelievably diverse skill set. And we have used it in a way that even more so than Loyola did. We don't need him to play attack. He plays the wings on faceoffs. He is a ground ball. I mean, he picks up ground balls. He's a machine. He's tough. He has helped us. We've struggled over the last couple of years with the 32-second clock. We would win a faceoff, but we weren't dynamic enough at the midfield to run by people. And, we're missing 2 of our better players all year in Brad Smith and in Tucker. So, he steps in along with Chorus, and, they start picking up ground balls for Joe on the wings, and they can create early offense. And, Potts can go back and play defense, which, not a lot of Canadians are capable of doing. And he can get the ball to the other end of the field and create offense again. And the kid can run. I mean, he's like a gazelle. He gets up and down the field. He has a really, really bright future and is as well-rounded a young player, and he's smart. He does not make mistakes. He doesn't turn the ball over. To get him where we got him is to me, that's, it's a steal in that no one knew who he was like we did. But man, what a great grab in the 4th round.
It's been awesome. It's been awesome to see, and it makes everybody back here happy. Coach, I imagine maybe the way that you guys are playing, rolling off those 4 straight wins, perhaps not the best thing that you finished with the bye, and then obviously the week off after that. How do you make sure, after such a long break, how do you get and it's not like other sports where you guys are spending time together during the week. Like, how do you get these guys back quickly to that level that you were at as the regular season came to a close?
Well, 2 things. 2 years ago, people forget this. We were 9-1, and we had a bye, and we lost to the Water Dogs in it was the quarters or semis, I guess. And we were just okay. This time, there was just such excitement from, again, I think these young guys have instilled this, and it's really, the older guys have really taken greater leadership roles, guys like Rambo and guys like Matt Dunn. And these young kids are just, they're used to this. They're used to, doing something every day. They're just out of college. So, they have, the group chats are Zooms. They've been consistent. The level of excitement and attention kind of to detail and and everything that, that you struggle with being a professional or transitioning to be a professional in our league, right? Working out every day on your own, dieting, finding other people to do things with, particularly when you're in New York City, right? Those guys are finding a field at 6 a.m. and they're getting together to work out. The Maryland guys are getting together and doing some things together. So at this point, Glenn, I think they've done as much as they could, to stay dialed in and stay focused. I think they're really excited. I think they realize that, there's a ton of potential here, and they enjoy being with each other, which is, what makes great teams. So we'll be healthy. We'll be rested. We do get an extra practice this time.
Okay.
And we talked about it last night. We just we got to show up and be dialed in and ready to go as soon as we step on that practice field again together.
Of course, Monday night, 6:30 against the Denver Outlaws in the PLL playoffs. You can watch it on ESPN+. And, Coach, I'd be remiss to not ask you about the weekend in Baltimore. You and I joked about it before. Like, for a lot of other teams, it's homecoming weekend. You guys didn't have to change your name to the Maryland Whipsnakes. It had always been homecoming weekend whenever the Whips were playing in Baltimore. But still, to play 2 games, to have it go the way they did, it was hot as hell out there. It was ungodly hot. But you guys, that first half in the Saturday game was unbelievable. Just the experience of having that and knowing for these guys what's coming in the future and more of that in that environment. What did homecoming weekend mean to everybody?
Well, I think it was you talked to a bunch of the guys prior, particularly the guys from the area or who played in the area, and they were excited. I mean, they really, and I think every team in the league has done this in their home, in their home arena or their home stadium. But despite a ton of challenges, right, and first and foremost the heat, right, you're going to play 2 days in a row. I think we're the only ones that played in that kind of weather for 2 days. The crowd, that first day, you're right, it was god-awful hot, and the crowd was there, and they hung in there, and it was everything that, that it has been, but even more. We needed that crowd at times. The other team would make a run, and, the crowd was there. We'd score that next goal, and in the noise, and you felt like you were truly, which we were, playing in a home stadium in front of a home crowd. And then the next day we had the weather issue. And, everybody had to leave the stadium, right? And then people still came back. And was it what it was the day before? No, but it was still, considering all the challenges, the crowd was, the crowd was as resilient as our guys were. And we played a great first half the next day. And there was nothing in the tank in the second half. And I knew it was going to be like that. And Tucker got hurt. So we were playing down a guy. And I think the crowd, the crowd stayed in it. The crowd helped. We needed a crowd that day. We needed to be home, to pull that one off, because, when you're looking down the bench and they just guys keep rolling out despite the fact that, they're struggling and they're tired and they're sore. And it's, that crowd makes a difference for you.
It was awesome. It was awesome, and we can't wait to have more of it in the future. But before that, we're looking forward to going and winning a championship. That's what we're looking forward to, Coach. Best of luck Monday night, and obviously moving forward in the playoffs. We will be in touch as this run to a title continues. Thank you, as always, taking the time for us this morning, man. It's great to chat with you.
My pleasure, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Coach Jim Stagnitta, the Whipsnakes, with us here on GCR. Again, the playoffs start Monday. And championships in Philadelphia, if you want to look ahead a little bit. They got to get there. But it'll be September 15th up in, I guess technically in Chester, Pennsylvania, but essentially Philadelphia. That's the way that it works. Quarterfinals are in Boston this weekend, and then semifinals the following Saturday in Long Island. It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. If you have not picked up this print issue of Press Box, you need to get to your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. You can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. Kyle Hamilton's on the cover. Great story from Bo Smolka about his rise to being a star in the NFL. Also, a lot of college sports, college football, college soccer inside this print issue of Press Box. Go get it for free today at your neighborhood Royal Farms. We continue here on a Thursday edition of the program. I will tell you, I have not finished it yet, but I'm about halfway through, and I cheated because I read the second Maryland chapter out of order. But I have really been fascinated by this book. It's called The Price. You see it right there if you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook. What it takes to win in college football's era of chaos. Let's talk about that because there is so much here. And this is an in-depth project and a legend in our field. Armen Keteyian, who you know from everywhere, CBS, ABC, HBO. I mean, he's worked everywhere in his career, and he is with us this morning here on GCR. Armen, it's Glenn. It's great to chat with you. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
My pleasure. I got to tell you, Glenn, those Maryland chapters were fascinating to me too.
So,
because John Talty wrote them, my co-author.
Okay.
And they're some of my favorite in the book. The whole Macy's metaphor.
Yeah.
It's just perfect.
Well, I'll tell you, Armen, I know Mike Locksley really well. You might not be surprised. He is gregarious and he's great with everybody in town, and he goes out of his way to make appearances and to get to know you. He's had us all over to his house, right? Like, he's that type of guy.
Wow.
And I would tell you that I didn't know that how serious he considered, like, just getting out of the sport altogether. Like, that was news to me. Not that he hasn't talked about the difficulty of it, but I get it. Like, I understand that you have this moment of success, and the comparison to what he dealt with after Alabama won the title was phenomenal. But you have this moment of success, right? Like, you win a third straight bowl game, things are clicking, and there's not even like a second where you get to say, okay, I can sit, I can breathe. It really is sort of a remarkable statement about what the job entails at this point.
Yeah, it's unrelenting. I mean, that scene, just to back up, where, they just won a national championship, and Nick says to him, like, literally, I know it was 7:30 the next morning. That was last year, and Mike's like, no, it was last night.
Right.
It's not even, it hasn't even been 24 hours that we've been able to celebrate something. And now when you add in NIL and the portal and where and how do you keep your head above water, especially in the Big Ten, it's relentless. And I think that what Mike's experience has been at Maryland is so emblematic and symbolic of what so many other coaches are going through right now, that there really isn't any downtime. It's a 24/7, 365-day-a-year job, and yes, they get well paid for it, and in many cases they're making 9-figure salaries. And but you also have to take the human side into this, and that's why the book is called what it is, The Price. Yep. Because it's not just the financial implications here, the billions of dollars that have poured into college football and college basketball, but it's the emotional and the psychological and the physical toll that is being taken by everybody, from the Mike Locksleys and the presidents of universities on down, right into the training staff and the compliance people. And, even I know nobody's singing any sad songs for the media, but, it's a 24-hour day, job now. For the media that are covering these teams.
Admittedly, for example, I did not know, and I know he's back in at Clemson now, but at the time, I had no idea Matt Luke had just gotten out of football altogether. Like, I had no clue.
Yeah.
I had no idea that was the case. Let me ask a couple of big picture questions if I could, Armen.
Yeah.
I feel like the response from a lot of people, like, okay, yes, it's a difficult job. You pointed out they do get compensated well for doing it. Like, is it a problem, though? Like, is it a problem to say, hey, it's gonna be tough, and you're gonna have to deal with 18-year-olds that want more and more money, but you are compensated well for doing it, and you don't have to do it until you're 80, the way that Bobby Bowden did. You don't have. It's okay if it's now like a 10-year job, because you're gonna make a lot of money in those 10 years, and your family's gonna be all right. And I haven't finished reading it, right? But like, that's the part that I kept coming back to is, I get that it's tougher, but is it a terrible thing that it's tougher, or is it the nature of, hey, we screwed up for a long time and tried to prevent kids from being able, we profited off of them, and so this is the payback for that, is the job has to be tougher now while we course correct the sport?
Yeah, I think that's probably, as I was listening to you, that's probably where we're at, is that this is the collateral damage of an organization, an association that over the last 5-6 decades has had one opportunity after another as more and more money poured into college sports. You can start college basketball and March Madness, but also, when CBS took on 28 years ago, the SEC on CBS, and Notre Dame signing a huge deal with NBC. And as the money poured in and the conferences were starting to pay out, what was $7 million a year in grant of rights money to each school is now north of $60 million a year. So, yeah, that's part of it in terms of this is the collateral damage, as I said, of what had happened before. But it doesn't make what the coaches are experiencing. It would be like you have a routine in your job. Glenn, you have what you do every day, and you expect it to be that way pretty much every day that you go in. When I start a book, I know kind of what the commitment is. Okay, but all of a sudden, let's just say your job becomes 3 times more difficult because there's 4 or 5 other things that you never had to deal with before in the form of NIL and the portal, and maybe all of a sudden your radio station becomes a conglomerate, gets bought by a bigger conglomerate, and you have to deal with all that. Or you worry about your job because are you going to have a radio station during that period of time? If you're an Oregon State or a Washington State, all of a sudden you don't have a state. There is no state of a conference that you're in. So I think when you add all those other elements in, that's why the Jay Wrights of the world at Villanova leave. That's why Chip Kelly, I think, and I'm using his, summarizing what he said was, it was exactly right. All he was doing was things outside of coaching a football team, trying to put a collective together, trying to deal with the portal, trying to deal with a booster network that was trying to figure out on the fly, what NIL was all about. So now he's the offensive coordinator at Ohio State and said, he and his wife have never been happier in his coaching life. So that's where we're at. And that's why books like this attract people like me and attract people like John, because it's big and it's sweeping and it's complex and it's, you're really borrowing and leveraging on trust that has been built up over a lot of years for me to be able to get into places like Michigan or the NCAA headquarters and talk to the enforcement staff, and what John did at Maryland, and terrific reporting all through the SEC. I like to say, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, and it's not easy. But when you get a book like The Price that comes out of stuff like this, honestly, we're really proud of what we've accomplished here.
You should be. It's I can't wait to finish it. It's a fantastic read. Armen Keteyian is with us here on GCR, and again, we've linked it up on our Twitter account as well, at Glenn Clark Radio, for you to find The Price and go ahead and order it right now. Armen, there's so much made about within the book about the attempts to have Congress help. And I apologize for not remembering whose quote it was. Really? You're trying to get us to fix this? Really?
Yeah. It was. Go ahead.
My friend Len Elmore, who of course has been involved in the Knight Commission for a long time, always tells me the answer is very simple. Football has to break away from the rest of college sports. We've got to start there. I don't know how I feel about that, because for example, Armen, I like Navy football, and I don't want there to be a world where Navy gets left behind in this process.
Mm-hmm.
I have very emotional feelings towards it. But in doing the work that you did you start to sense what some of the answers might be for, I don't like using the word fix because it says that but for trying to make this more tenable moving forward for all parties involved?
Yes, I was in D.C. your backyard, for the Solution Summit in June of 2023 that the University of Arizona put on, and all the stakeholders were there. Everybody from, Charlie Baker, the president, to Greg Sankey, to Oliver Luck, to you name it. It was kind of a who's who. And Nick Saban came the night before, and they were really, at that point in time, that was the window to lobby Congress. And like 7 days after that, shortly after that, I sat with Richard Blumenthal, Dick Blumenthal, who's the senator here from Connecticut, former AG in Connecticut, and I knew from my days at CBS News. And he was very forthright, and he's a smart guy, and he gave it about a 40% chance of any kind of significant legislation passing, certainly antitrust legislation that would protect the NCAA. And so where we sit now with this Congress get to agree on almost anything, and certainly now in the political season,
right,
nobody believes anything will happen in 24, and I'll be shocked if it happens even in the first two quarters of 25. It is. I think there has to be, where we are right now, I think is in a holding pattern where everybody's kind of taking a breath in feeling out what's next. I believe that there's going to be a solution or a framework that is going to be a breakaway group, and I believe it'll be the Big Ten, it'll be the SEC. I don't know whether it'll be all those schools and all that in both those conferences. I doubt it.
Yeah.
And then there'll be others. I could see 64, 16, 16, 16, 16, north, south, east, and west. But, like you said, what happens to a Navy? What happens to a Syracuse? What happens to does NC State make it? Does Oklahoma State make it?
Damon Evans mentioned in the book that, is Maryland definitely part of that?
Does Maryland make it?
Yeah.
Does Maryland make it? Not as the Big Ten is currently configured. You can go, Michigan, Ohio State, USC, Oregon, Washington, Penn State. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right there. How deep do you go? Do you go Maryland? Do you go Ohio? Or do you go Michigan State? What happens to Illinois and Indiana and Purdue and Northwestern? Well, sayonara, maybe.
Right.
So I think that's what everybody's trying to figure out. What I do know is, and I think this is it's a theme that comes through, and if you've read Unrealistic, the chapter about the destruction of the Pac-12, it's wanton greed and complete self-interest. And those are not healthy attributes to have when you're trying to find solutions, because everybody's out for themselves. And there has to be a moment in time where people decide that the greater good is more important than their own individual self-interest. And I don't think we're there yet, because people still don't trust their neighbor, so to speak. And when you have the media companies, the Fox, the CBS, the NBC, and certainly ESPN, really driving realignment, as Bobby Robbins said in a really pretty profound quote, what's going to happen? When is it that we get to make these decisions? We're at the mercy of the media companies, and that's not a good place. As much as I love being, my life in the media,
right.
That's not a good place to be. Where the media companies are driving it for their own interest and not in the best interest of the universities.
I mean, what about contracts? That's the thing, and I've talked to Mike Loxley about this a lot, and I get it. I don't know. It might be that the contract, it's better for players to be able to turn around and say, hey, give me $50,000 more if you want me to play in a bowl game. But doesn't it feel like that's the natural next step to try to combat at least the constant having to re-recruit your own players aspect of this?
Yes, that's one of Dick Blumenthal's things is that in order to sign an NIL agreement, there has to be a 2-year commitment at least to stay with that school, and you agree, given the contract that you sign, an NIL contract that you sign, to remain with that school for a specific period of time. And that's now starting to take on some leverage and some strength. And I think there has to be transparency, because right now the NIL world is so opaque that kids can come in and say, hey, I've been offered $500,000 by a school, and I'm going to go I've been induced to go into the portal.
Yeah.
Well, who really knows? And the NCAA, imagine what they're dealing with when they try to figure out whether someone has been bought or not, induced or not. And the kid says to them, well, I signed a deal, but I signed it, an NDA. I can't tell you. I can't talk about it. And then the people that are actually involved about it just either say, I'm not going to talk to you because I'm not obligated, or they lie to you. So it's really, when you think there has to be a sheriff in town, well, imagine that sheriff riding into town with his hands tied behind his back and no ammunition. Right. And that's kind of what the NCAA is right now.
I'll probably wrap with you on this one, Armen, because what you just brought up, it's so funny because it comes with the subplot being everything that's going on at Michigan and Jim Harbaugh kind of riding off. And part of it becomes, it almost feels like we're just mocking the NCAA, right? Like you have screwed up so badly over the years that if you have a rule, we just assume that it's nonsense because your thought process for so long was utterly nonsense and just openly gross. And so now it feels like we're at the point where the rules why would anybody play along with any rules? Because we never side with the NCAA. The NCAA always screws this up over the years. And so, like, the Michigan people are just openly mocking the NCAA and the notion that they did anything wrong because they were just going to win like everybody else was trying to win. I feel like part of this is, like, the NCAA just feels so toothless in this process that, like, I don't even know how to feel about Michigan. I feel like we should say, well, hey, that there should be – they cheated or whatever. But, my God, like – that requires me to believe in the rule system that was set up by the NCAA, and how could I possibly do that?
It's kind of like the last days of Pompeii, not that I was back there then when things were crumbling to the ground, but, I'm looking at I did a lot of reporting on the Michigan saga with Harbaugh and the NCAA, and that's some of truly, not to brag, but it's really, I think, pretty strong, very revealing reporting, especially what Jim was dealing with the Committee on Infractions. And you look at the penalties that they just meted out, that he got a 4-year show cause penalty. He had a year suspension, or he could not coach again over, and I'm looking at the violations and the language: unethical conduct, failure to cooperate, and providing false or misleading information. And I look at those words and I'm like, as defined by who? As defined by you? Right. Unethical conduct, failure to cooperate, providing false or misleading information. And you could, in a court of law, you'd have a field day arguing whether what Jim did was provide false or misleading information. I know exactly what he said. He said he didn't remember those 2 meetings, a guy who has 300 of those meetings a year, and they're asking him to remember something that happened almost 2 years before. And they show him the smoking bun, as it turns out, the cheeseburger receipt, and he goes, "Yeah, okay, I was there. Who has a cheeseburger for breakfast on a Saturday? I did." And they said, "Well, then you lied." He said, "No, I didn't remember. There's a difference." And they believe that he lied, and more importantly, they, being the Committee on Infractions, which I believe, and given the reporting I've done, I think I have a right to this opinion. They put a target on his back, and they wanted to make an example of Jim. And in doing so, on one side, he hated that process. On the other side, a university he loved, but was also having a strained relationship with Ward Manuel. And in the end, I don't think Jim had any choice. As Tom Mars, his attorney, told him, a very smart man and a force to be reckoned with as far as the NCAA was concerned. Jim, I told him once, I told him twice, I told him more than twice. I can't see any reason why you would return to Michigan when you have this target on your back with the Committee on Infractions. And Tom was right, because the proof was in what the sanctions were. So what happens? You lose you force the winning coach of the national championship out on one hand. And then because what Nick's situation was in Alabama and the loss of control there, and the NIL situation, and particularly the portal, he decides to resign. So now you have college football without two of the singular faces of the sport not in the sport. And that tells you a lot about the state of the sport right now.
Yes, but we were all still watching Georgia Tech play Florida State on Saturday, right? Like,
Exactly right.
It is the trade-off, because I know what you're saying does matter, but at the same time, we're going to watch talented – we love football in this country, and if you give us talented kids playing competitive football, we're going to tune in and watch. Armen, I really – the book is phenomenal. And by the way,
thank you.
The smoke – you've done a lot of great things, but the smoking bun, that is A+, my friend. That is really good.
I know. It came to me. It's in the book, too. I'm borrowing from myself.
That is so good.
But it was my line.
Armen Keteyian is how you follow him on Twitter. And again, The Price, What It Takes to Win in College Football's Era of Chaos with him and John Talty. Congratulations, Armen. It's a phenomenal read.
Thanks,
I can't wait to finish it.
I enjoyed it. Really, I did.
Thank you for taking
Thanks
the
a
time
lot.
for us. The great Armen Keteyian. Look, it is as complex, and that's why it requires this level of a book in order to get into the complexity of this topic. It is a year's worth of reporting from all over college football. And, you know, the stuff that you heard, it's passing it along as fact without casting judgment. And in fact, if there's anything, the judgment goes the other way within the book. The judgment is coming down on guys like Joe Manchin who are like, I just want it to be the way it was when I was playing college football. It's just presenting as fact. This is what the sport is now. Remember the story about Auburn wanting to get Talia Tagovailoa before the 2023 season? It's the nitty-gritty of what happened, what it took in order to keep him around. It's good stuff, man. It's a really good read. Really, really compelling read. Speaking of compelling reads, it is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio, and I'm doing book reports today. I'm just talking to authors about the books that they wrote this summer. And I apologize. I haven't been able to finish it yet. I got into phase 2, and I've been reading our next guest's great book. And it's all about his relationship with his dad and the lessons that he learned from his father. The book is called Unitas to Unitas. And Joe Unitas, the son of the legendary Johnny Unitas, is with us this morning here on GCR. Joe, it's Glenn. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Hey, thank you, guys.
Hey,
I
Joe.
appreciate you. Yeah, it sounds like you are busy doing a lot of reading.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of reading, but I enjoy it. Like, it's one of my favorite things to do. And, you know, growing up here, the affinity that I had for your father, and, of course, the affinity that my father had for your father, I'll watch a grown man cry talking about it. Your affinity for your dad and what he taught you, when did you decide, hey, I want to share this with people. I want everyone else to know how it is that my father impacted my life?
Actually, it wasn't something that I really decided to do. Christine Clark, the co-author, approached me about it. He had wanted to do a book with my dad years ago, and she was always like, well, we can meet up at the Hall of Fame. He's like, sweetie, I don't go to the Hall of Fame anymore. That was a one and done for me. So it never came to fruition, and then she contacted me. I'm not even sure how it came to be, but she told me, hey, here's what I'd like to do. Man, I just got finished, writing this movie script, which is obviously a different topic. I was like, I don't know if I want to start writing again. And then she's like, please, we can do it really well. We'll figure something out. And I was like, all right, let me think about it. And then I said, okay, well, what if we do, the lessons that I learned as a boy growing up with my dad, and now hopefully, passing those on to my own kids. Maybe we can do something there and incorporate how that kind of gave me that discipline and drive to work through this process of trying to get this movie done. And then, a year later, we had a book.
That's cool. Yeah, Joe, I don't want this to discourage anyone from reading the book, because I think they're actually going to like the fact that it fortifies them. What I have gathered from the first, and I'm about halfway through the book at this point, is that Johnny Unitas, the father, I feel like is about what we would have expected John Unitas, the father, to be. Like, it sort of fits everything we knew about the man's personality. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you saw what you got with him. It was either black or white. right? He didn't play in a kind of that rainbow world, black or right or wrong. It was all about, discipline, doing things properly, having good character.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly what the people saw of him on Sundays and throughout the week is exactly what he was.
A couple of the things that really jumped out to me, Joe, and what I've read so far. One, I think that one of the things that made your father so beloved in this community, even beyond, I mean, with folks my age that never saw him play a down, was how unbelievably accessible he was, how very normal he came off, despite being, one of the greatest stars in the history of sport. I wonder, and you talked a little bit about that because you also, you didn't watch him play, but have you got a greater sense for how unreal it was that he was so affable and such just a regular part of the community despite literally being Johnny Unitas?
Yeah, I mean, completely, down to earth, normal guy. There was a great line when at his funeral, when he was described as a common man of uncommon talent and even more uncommon grace. And I think that sums it up perfectly, right? He considered himself just like everybody else. He's from Pittsburgh, blue collar town, saw his mom working 3 jobs, his brother working a job to support the family after his dad passed away. So he's like, hey, I'm just a guy. I'm out here doing my job, trying to support my family. If I can be a part of the community and help make my community better, I'm absolutely going to do that, right? He just had, a job that a lot of people didn't have, getting to play football on Sunday afternoon. But we also know that back then he did have a job Monday through Friday too,
It was a different
like the
time.
rest of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
So he was a pretty normal guy, just had a different weekend.
Joe, how much, you, even if it was just John Unitas, the football player, carrying his name, being his son, would have an impact on you in the way that you're viewed. And I wonder how much more that side of him, being that human, has made it and impacted you and the way that you carry yourself and who you want to be, knowing that's the standard that was set for you.
Yeah, I mean, it is a big deal, carrying the last name. I mean, he told us long ago, me, Chad, and Paige, I put a lot of work into my career developing this reputation that we have. Don't F it up, right? But he also kind of explained, listen, that name, you're going to be in the forefront. You might be out with a whole group of friends, and if everybody gets in trouble, the only name that's going to end up in the paper is yours.
It's true.
So you have to be aware of that. And, just be conscious of the decisions you're making. Don't make impulsive decisions. So, yeah, it's something that we carry with, and yeah, very proud of who he is and the name, and hopefully I've kind of instilled that into my 3 boys as well. And they think about things before they go and often do stupid stuff, as we know boys do.
Joe Unitas is with us. The book is Unitas to Unitas, and we've linked it up on our Twitter account, @Glenn Clark Radio, for you to check it out. I'm so glad that you brought up boys doing stupid stuff because, and again, I haven't finished the book yet, but to this point, my favorite anecdote is you getting drunk at a party in your junior year of high school, and just imagining the scene as all of your friends see literally Johnny Unitas coming into their party to undress you and call you out in that moment. I want there to be a movie made about this, and I know that's your field, so I need the movie to be specifically about this scene, because I can't there'd be a part of me that would be like, oh my God, like I can't, we've all been that kid at that party in our lives. Like the part of you that's freaking out about, like, oh my God, Joe's dad is here, and then the other side of you that's like, oh my God, I just got yelled at by Johnny Unitas.
Well, that's the thing, majority of all those friends, he was just Joe's dad.
Okay.
It wasn't Johnny U, this football legend, right? I think, I never looked at him that way. It was always, my dad and the guys, they were all the people that were there were pretty close friends. They'd been around him, but yeah, like, holy smokes, Mr. Unitas is here, Joe's out. Right. But I'm sure it's a story that they tell a lot still today.
100. It's a story that I would be telling for the rest of my life. Like, everybody wants to get together and play two truths and a lie. Like, the first one that I'm going with is I had a party broken up by Johnny Unitas. Like,
right.
That's where I'm going first with it. Joe, in writing the book, something that, a lesson that maybe you, in revisiting, had kind of forgotten that you realized. I ask this all the time of athletes that are around legends, and like, hey, what's something that like unconsciously you picked up from them that you realized, 3 years later, all the Ravens linebackers that played with Ray Lewis, hey, what's something that you didn't even realize you were doing? In writing the book, was there something that you tapped into about yourself that you hadn't even really thought about that obviously had come from your father?
I think it's just how important discipline is in your life. If you're going to be successful, right, you have to be disciplined. Like, if you don't have that, I don't think there's going to be very much success. You might get lucky and something will happen. But I just think about this process, not only getting the book done, but we've done, and starting, putting together the movie screenplay back in 2006. I mean, it's almost, we're a couple years away from 20 years of working on this thing, but having the discipline to stick with it. You look at these guys, playing in the NFL, they started playing football probably when they were 5, 6, 7 years old. They had a lot of, times that things were tough and they could have quit and been like, I'm going to go do something else. All my buddies are doing. But just having that discipline in your life every day to get up, do what you need to do, keep pushing forward to achieve whatever that goal is that you set for yourself is huge.
It's something I'm 40 years old, Joe, and I still struggle with it to this day. Like, and I've got, a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old boy that I'm trying to teach the same things to, and I find myself like, it's easy for me to sort of veer off the path. Like, you have to, all right, I've got to nail this down. I'm actually back in school this semester, and I've been dealing with it, right? Like, I've got to remember, I've got to take these classes seriously because there's a reason I'm trying to finish an MBA. Like, it is imperative. Like, you cannot accomplish anything without it.
Yeah, I remember vividly, being a little boy riding in the car with him and, that the word discipline being spelled out by him.
Yeah.
If you have to have this in your life, if you're going to be successful at anything.
Joe,
we get older. Our parents didn't know anything when we were kids, right? Now we're older. We have our own kids. You're like, holy crap. They were right about everything.
Where they were, weren't they? I tell you one, man, I stick with it all the time. My father, I remember when he would yell at me and I'd be very angry at him, he would say to me, like, you are going to struggle. I have to make peace with the fact that you and I might not get along for a few years. And you're not going to like me. But one day, you're going to recognize it. Like, you're going to understand how important it was. I vividly remember him talking about that. And me being like, shut up, old man. I'll never, like, all that. And then whatever the day was where it hits you, like, oh, my God. Oh, my God. That's exactly how it went. And now me having literally the exact same conversation with my own sons at this point. Like, that, when my younger son says, you're the worst person ever. I'm like, oh my God, I'm my father. Like, this is the way that it goes.
Yeah. I tell my mom, I say, the older I get, the smarter you and Dad are.
That's the way that it works, and you understand more and more of everything they put up with, and you're like, oh right, I was a jerk.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I was just a piece of crap. Kid, wouldn't listen, had to do it my own way, learned the hard way. The party story you just talked about. And now as a parent, I'm like, man, my kids are actually making it kind of easy on me knowing what I did.
Wow.
This is not too tough.
Wow. Joe, the significance of we are now, and we lost your father, over 2 decades ago. The importance of continuing to tell his story for a younger generation. I don't even know that my sidekick here, Griffin, I don't even know that Griffin was alive when your father passed away, or it was really close. The importance of continuing to tell his story and why it means so much to so many people, why he is so revered for generations of folks that have no now association, not just like guys like me that never saw him play, but another generation that doesn't even know him, that doesn't even know the stories. How important has that been for you?
Very important. I mean, if we want to just look at it from a, professional football standpoint, we know it's this, major multi-billion-dollar industry nowadays. Back in, 58, when the Colts beat the Giants in that championship game, professional football is probably like fourth on the list of, popular sports. Horse racing, boxing, baseball. I mean, it was even behind college football. Right. And then we had that, everything kind of came together, on December 28th, 1958 in New York City after the holidays, so everybody's at home. Basically, this football game comes on. It's the little old Baltimore Colts fight, taking on the Giants in the media capital of the world. And it goes to overtime and kind of launches professional football to the nation. And then it's kind of, grown and developed from there to what it is now. So that's kind of one side of the story. But then I think the other side of the story is that, he was that true underdog, right? Was always told he was too small when he was in middle school and high school trying to play football, even in, college, didn't want him to go to Notre Dame. They wouldn't let him in because they told him, hey, you're too small, you'll get hurt. But just, again, he had that discipline to just keep fighting, keep pushing through whatever was thrown in his way until he got to achieve that goal, right? So, a lot of people, I think these kids nowadays, they see stuff pop on YouTube and, oh, well, this is easy. I'll be a millionaire. I'll just throw some videos up. Well, even those people have had the time, put in work and discipline to create what they got to on that platform, many other platforms that are out there nowadays. It's not an overnight thing. I think people have to understand that, especially this younger generation where they want this instant gratification. It doesn't work that way.
And I guess with that in mind, because you brought it up, I got to ask you about the movie, right? Like, I think everybody remembers the story of, like, Joe Flacco's involvement a few years back, and I know there was some unfortunate back and forth with other members of the family. Where are we with the process, and when might we finally be able to see it on the big screen?
So right now we, just got some development money earlier this year. We're using that to go out and try and attach a director to take it on. And that's really kind of the first thing you have to do if you're going to take it to, a studio or a streamer. They want directing, what's your package look like? And so we get the director first, and then we can start maybe in attaching a couple stars. And if you get that, then you're good. You should be in a good spot to be able to go and get the financing to make the film. So the development money's there. We actually got it to a big director probably a month ago. He's recently returned from being out of the country. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, he's already read the script. He said, yeah, I want to sit down and talk about this. So hopefully, if all that goes well, we'll have that in place and, maybe able to shoot it this winter.
Oh, I love that. I love everything about that. I'm assuming at this point it's probably like too late that like Richard Gere could play your old friend. I don't think that's going to be an option. Maybe in the later years.
Richard could maybe like play the commissioner.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That might not be bad, right? That might not be bad.
Yeah, but the story itself, it kind of covers his life from age 5 to 25. So a lot of these actors are going to be pretty young people.
I can't wait for that. And I'm telling you, Joe, I'm really enjoying the book. Again, Unitas to Unitas. It's available right now, and we've linked it up. Joe, is there anything else that we can plug for you, man, or places that people can follow what it is that you're doing?
So the book comes out in November. I think November 12th is what they told me.
Okay. I apologize.
But I know it can be pre-ordered now.
Yeah.
They told me on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, bookshop.org, and Roman.com, ROWMAN.com. That's the actual publisher. And then we have a site set up for the movie as well. That's unitasmovie.com.
Then check that out, unitasmovie.com, and that is what we linked up then as the pre-order for the book is what we've linked up on our Twitter account for you to check out.
Yeah, and I know they're gonna. I know you guys kind of got the PDFs.
Yep.
Yeah, they told me they'd send you and Griffin hard copies too.
Oh, I'd love that. I would absolutely love that. And we get to November, it's a promise. We'll have you back on. We'll chat about it a little bit more. And by that point, I will have finished the book, and we can do a full report then, Joe, if that's all right with you.
It's all good. You're super busy, Glenn. The fact that you even take the time to read what you have, I do appreciate it.
Oh, Joe, I'm really enjoying it, and I'm telling you, like I get very emotional. I'm not kidding about it. Like I didn't see my father cry much in his life, but like, one time Lenny gave him a hug and he started crying. Like talking, going to the barber shop with my dad on Saturday mornings and watching him and his buddies reenact your father throwing the ball. Like it is a very emotional thing for me. Like it is a very important thing. So I'm greatly appreciating reading the book, and I can't wait to finish it. Joe, we will talk again as we get closer to the book coming out in November.
About you talking about him. I'm surprised I didn't cry in this interview. I'm actually getting better at it now.
Joe, I'm telling you, I get emotional. It's a father and son thing. You talking about your dad makes me think about my dad. Then I think about my boys. All right, we're gonna have to end this now, or else I'm gonna end up embarrassing myself. Joe,
no doubt.
Thank you for taking the time, man. We will talk again when we get closer. All right.
My pleasure, guys. Have a great day.
Joe Unitas with us here on GCR. Yeah, the father and son thing, man, that gets me. That gets me big time. Appreciate that. And I didn't realize it wasn't out until November. I've got time. I'm like halfway through it. I'm good now. I'm definitely going to be able to finish it in time. Appreciate Joe taking the time for us this morning. All right. High school sports season is underway. Joe played football and lacrosse at the Calvert School. And that's every school, every place, not just, like St. Francis, not just Calvert Hall, not just, Hereford, everywhere throughout the state, all scores from everywhere, all of the sports you can find by going to countysports.zone. Countysports.zone is proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. And it's not just football. It's soccer, it's field hockey, it's everything. Polls, updates, news, features. Stay in tune with high school sports in our area by going to countysports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. We come back in. We'll get a tidbit. We'll get two-bit or wind things down. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Want to improve your golf game or learn to play for the first time? The Baltimore Golf Academy has fun, instructional programs for the beginner golfer to everyday players. The Baltimore Golf Academy can take your game to the next level. Enroll today at baltimoregolfacademy.com.
Frederick Keys Baseball is back. With 30 more home games beginning on July 2nd, the Keys are excited to welcome you back to Nimeo Field at Harry Grove Stadium. We want to see you there. Countless promotions will be on display every game, with it ranging from Tap House Tuesdays to Firework Fridays and everything in between. For more information or to buy tickets, call 301-815-9939 or visit frederickkeys.com today.
We've all experienced it before. The fantasy football draft from hell. Your buddy says you can do it at his house, but he never asks his wife. She's screaming at him the whole time and forces you guys to sit outside in the unforgiving heat. Then everyone brings the exact same store-bought 7-layer dip, and somehow you accidentally draft someone named LeVar Jackson because your brain can't function in these circumstances. Don't cop out and just move your draft online this year. Let Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel handle everything for you. Book your draft party, complete with your choice of all-you-can-eat entrees, drinks, and custom draft kits for the whole league, plus a custom trophy for your champion and a $75 gift card for the commish. Visit PressBoxOnline.com/social. That's PressBoxOnline.com/social, and never have a fantasy draft from hell again.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
Hagerstown, Maryland. a snapshot of American history that dates back centuries. Today, the roots of the city expand with another historical moment, the grand opening of Meredith Park, Hagerstown's new event stadium and home to the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Experience the energy, culture, and adventure. Plan your getaway today at America's newest and most innovative ballpark. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland. Visit Hagerstown.com.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at costasinn.com.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named number 1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Escape to Ocean City, Maryland, and discover a place that just feels lighter, where every day feels like Saturday and French fries are a food group, where flip-flops are always in fashion and seafood is always in season, where the boardwalk is bustling and the beach is right outside your door, where you can rise with the tide and feel like a kid again. Ocean City, Maryland, somewhere to smile about. Book your trip at OCOcean.com.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, winding down for a Thursday edition of GCR. Orioles try again tonight. I'll tell you more about it here in a second when we get to Tubular. And I feel like there was somebody else that everybody was talking about on Twitter. Who's the other? I mentioned Tyler Huntley earlier. There's somebody else that everybody's talking about with the Ravens on Twitter, and I've already forgotten.
This probably wasn't it. Tony Jefferson was cut by the Chargers.
Yeah, but apparently the plan is to sign him back to the practice squad. Like, it's not to he's not going to be available. The plan is that he's just going to go back to the practice squad, and I don't know what that looks like moving forward. I know Eric DaCosta had a session with reporters this morning. Nothing particularly informative coming out of it that I have noticed. They want to try to do a long-term deal with Brandon Stevens. Okay. I guess if you thought maybe they'd be in the wide receiver market, he reiterated that he's very bullish about Rashad Bateman, so that might be his way of saying, like, just we're not doing that. I don't know. But, I mean, he wasn't very direct with anything in particular. Said he likes the quarterback room. This is according to Jeff Zrebiec. Didn't rule out bringing somebody else in, but it didn't sound like it's a pressing issue for team officials. So there's that. That's what you got. All right. Well, with that in mind, why don't we go ahead and get a tidbit?
Thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations?
Sure. We've done that a few too many times recently. How about we get a tidbit? Okay.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, what you got?
All right, Shohei Ohtani. We do know who he is, and he once again is adding, did something else crazy. Had his first career 10 home run, 10 stolen base month after last night stealing a couple bases and homering. He joins a list of 1, 2, 3, 4. He is the 8th player in baseball history to have a 10-10 calendar month. Can you name any of the other 7 to do it? All 7 have done it. It was after 1983, or so in 1983.
Brady Anderson.
Brady Anderson not on this list. 10 home
Ronald
runs.
Acuna.
Ronald Acuna, yes. When did he do it?
Last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
September of last year.
Okay. How about
4 guys did it. So 4 after 2000, 4 before 2000.
4 before 2004, 4 after 2004? The problem is figuring out which way to go with this. I'll try. I'll say Ricky to say Ricky.
Not Ricky.
Strawberry.
Not Strawberry.
Eric Davis.
Yes, Eric Davis. In May of 1987. He was the second person to accomplish this feat.
Like, I feel like it's got to be home run. Like, it's not like guys that were stolen base guys that ran into 10 home runs. It's more the other way around. Like, it's guys that were home run hitters that, for whatever reason, got to 10 stolen bases. Yuck. Man, this is tough. Curtis Granderson.
Not Curtis Granderson.
Jimmy Rollins. Yeah.
What the years?
I don't know the year.
04.
Sure. 04.
He is currently on the Hall of Fame ballot? Yeah, not in yet.
Not in yet. Steroid guy?
Did he do steroids? I think he did, yeah. I think. I don't know. I'm like, wait, did he do steroids? Hold on, let me figure this out. I think he did, right? Had to have. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Or am I confusing him with the other somewhat,
man,
controversial thing?
The other somewhat controversial thing. The other somewhat controversial thing. My God, is that not
like it's not like he
helpful.
committed a crime. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm trying to.
But he's involved with a controversy of some sort.
Yeah, recently.
Recently.
He last played. His last year playing was 2017.
Oh, it's Carlos Beltran.
Yes, it's Carlos Beltran. Did he do steroids?
I have no idea if he did steroids or not.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you.
Because I can't. But yeah, he did this in 04. So Ohtani, Acuna, Beltran. One more did it in 2001. This guy was only a one-time All-Star. He did it
one-time All-Star.
He was a Padre in 2001.
Phil Nevin.
Not Phil Nevin.
Ken Caminiti.
Started his career in Atlanta.
Ryan Klesko. Guys hit some home runs. I can't believe he ever stole 10 bases.
He had a 10-10 month.
It's bonkers.
In 2001.
I don't know that I would have guessed that he would ever have a 10 stolen base season.
There's one you should get 99.
99, and I should get it.
Yes.
Because
you think more about the stolen base guys that would stumble into 10 home runs in a month.
Craig Biggio.
Not Biggio. Close.
Close?
Yeah.
A stolen base guy that would have stumbled into 10 home runs in a month. And it's close to Craig Biggio. Would have stumbled into 10 home runs in a month.
Oh, never mind. He was a home run guy. Why did I think he was a stolen base guy? All right. He had 449.
Is it Jeff Bagwell?
Yeah.
Are you out of your ever-loving mind?
He wasn't a. He was. I guess
This
maybe
is the exact opposite of what.
Okay,
yes,
so maybe I was thinking
Biggio would be a stolen base guy that could have run into 10 home runs in a month. Jeff Bagwell stealing 10 bases in a month. Jeff Bagwell was far more athletic than some first basemen, but like Jeff Bagwell stealing 10 bases in a month is bonkers.
I think I was thinking. I was thinking of Biggio.
Yikes!
I was confusing their careers. Both pretty good Astros,
How many am I missing?
I know. 2 more. One did it in 1991. I can give you hints for him. He started as a Tiger, a Met. He did it in 1991. So he was with the Mets.
91 Mets.
91
Mets.
Won the 86 World Series with the Mets.
Was on the 86 World Series team and was still there in 91.
He led the National League in home runs in 91.
Led the National League in home runs in 91. So it's not, all right, well, let me start ruling guys out. It's not Ray Knight. It's not, I don't think it's Mookie Wilson, is it?
No. Third baseman.
Oh, Howard Johnson. Hojo. Damn.
Hojo. Howard Johnson, yes, in September of 1991.
He had those hotels that everybody likes so much.
And then the first to accomplish this did in 1983.
1983. I was born in 1983.
Yeah, September of 1983.
That was when I was born.
Yeah. Wasn't you.
Maybe inspired by me.
Right, maybe. He was like, who just got?
Right. Gotta go hit some home runs for him.
And he must have been really inspired because the next year he won the MVP, National League MVP.
Won the NL MVP in '84.
Yeah.
All right, give me a team.
Braves.
Dale Murphy.
Dale Murphy.
Dale Murphy was
first
a stud.
10-10.
Stud, man.
Yes.
So it's a random group, though. It's not an easy. That's
yeah.
not an easy group.
I mean,
to
Acuna's
call
good.
together.
Beltran's good.
Yeah, Acuna makes all the sense in the world.
Dale Murphy.
These aren't like 40-40 guys. These aren't.
Yeah.
You know, like these are guys that had a month. Like that's what they.
Well,
are.
to be fair, there's not many 40-40.
I agree. I don't know how many of them are 30-30 guys. How many of those guys had 30-30 seasons? Hang on a second.
Take me a minute to go.
List of all 30-30 seasons in MLB history. Let's find out. Hang on a second. 30-30 club. All right. Let's find out if any of them were a 30-30 guy.
Well,
Murphy was
once.
not.
No,
Well, he
Murphy did
was?
it once. Yeah, in '83.
Oh, you're right. He was in '83. Good call. Exactly 30 stolen bases to get to the 30-30 club.
Is that why it was pushing so hard in September of '83? I guess.
Ryan Klesko was definitely not. Jeff Bagwell was twice. All right. So maybe I should have gotten Jeff Bagwell. He was definitely more athletic than like Frank Thomas. So like I'll give him that. Who else was on this? Eric Davis, maybe.
Yeah, Eric Davis, Howard Johnson.
Eric Davis was. Yep, in '87. You're right.
Beltran did it in '04.
All right, I'll take it back. They were 30-30 guys.
I think that was the only time Beltran did it, though.
Howard Johnson did it 3 times. Holy crap. All right, I was very wrong. Okay. Let's get a tubular.
There is a place where tradition, family, and community gather, where the aspirations of talented young competitors takes root, and where the crossroads of history, culture, and renewal come together. This spring, experience America's newest and most innovative ballpark, Meritus Park in Hagerstown, Maryland, home of the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Plan your getaway today. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland.
All right, here's what's coming up this evening. Totally tubular. Orioles do indeed wrap up their series with the Dodgers. Cade Povich, go get him, baby. Takes on Bobby Miller. 10-10 tonight. This one's on Masson, not on Masson 2. And it is, once again, also on MLB Network. Loyola Soccer at home tonight, 7 o'clock on ESPN Plus against Iona for their home opener. Other baseball tonight, ESPN Plus, Blue Jays, Red Sox at 7:10. MLB TV, the free game is Royals, Astros at 8:10. MLB Network has Angels, Tigers at 1:10. Braves, Phillies at 6:40. The U.S. Open right now on ESPN. It moves to ESPN2 at 7 o'clock. Yannick Sinner in action today.
Skinner?
Yes, Yannick Skinner among those in action today. College football. Griffin will be glued to North Dakota State, Colorado tonight at 8 o'clock on ESPN.
I will.
Fox has North Carolina, Minnesota at 8 o'clock. Big Ten Network, Howard Rutgers at 6. Eastern Illinois at 9. CBS Sports Network, Coastal Carolina, Jacksonville State at 8. ESPNU, Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Arkansas at 7:30. True TV, Sacramento State against San Jose State. That's, of course, the debut for our guy Ken Niumatalolo out at San Jose State. That's at 10 o'clock. They used to stick a ton of good games on the first night of the season. Now
Colorado, North Dakota State.
Yes, thank you. Paralympics.
Is there an ACC game?
On
or there's like North Carolina, Minnesota tonight?
Yeah, I said that.
Yeah.
I said
It's a good game.
It's Paralympics on USA. Golf Channel round 1 of the Tour Championship, the final event of the playoffs. That gets underway at 1 o'clock. And Access TV for Impact Wrestling tonight at 8. Non-sports.
On Peacock, there is a documentary called Gary. It is about Gary Coleman.
Oh, okay.
And because he was from different, I didn't know much about him, but yeah,
You didn't know much about Gary Coleman?
I didn't know who Gary Coleman was until I saw this thing.
Very good.
I don't know if that interests anybody. Here Come the Irish. It's like a quick little docuseries, I think, following Notre Dame, the football team.
The football.
Yeah, the Notre
not
Dame
the Hunchback.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But I think it's like last season, so I don't know if anyone would really care.
Okay.
On Netflix, Chaos, new series with Jeff Goldblum. It was spelled Kaos, so it's about like the Greek gods, I think, and he plays Zeus, and I don't really understand what it's about. It looks like, it's Jeff Goldblum, so it looks pretty. It looks compelling, but the trailer was really confusing. I'm not sure what it is. Like he's trying to control humankind or something like that. And then Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, Season 2 on Prime Video.
If you say so.
Yes.
All right, very good. Thanks today to Joe Unitas. Thanks to Armen Keteyian. Thanks to Jim Stagnitta. And thanks to Joe Serpico. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh, my God. It's so good.
tab at glennclarkradio.com. Tomorrow on the program, we will talk to Morgan State football coach Damon Wilson before their season gets underway this weekend. It's a stretch. We've been doing these checking in with local guys. Griffin and I had a conversation about what local means, and somehow we still ended up with Christian Haynes from Bowie.
Tell him not to call.
Good kid. I mean, it's tough. It's a tough one. We're stretching on that one, but happy for him. I guess he's with the Seahawks now, so I guess we're doing that. Stan will join us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fantasy football as well.
Fantasy
with,
football.
Jamie
Eisenberg from CBS. Love my guy Jamie Eisenberg. Looking forward to that. Concluding Fantasy Week tomorrow. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Maryland 5-Star, Baltimore's Classic 5 golf courses, Live Casino and Hotel, visit Hagerstown in Washington County, Cruise Maryland, Ocean City, Easy Pass, Royal Farms Ed Block Courage Awards, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, the Costas Inn, MSAA, your local Toyota dealer, BuyAToyota.com, and the Baltimore Orioles. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Thursday evening. Go Birds. Duke sucks.